So the first thing that we're going to talk about, we're going to have a welcome from our new president, Janet Collins. And then our grant cycle will be explained from Reagan Smith. We will have Janet Sullivan talking to us about the volunteer opportunities that are available at Impact 100. Then we are all going to go to breakout rooms. That will be set up for you, so you don't really have to do anything. You'll just automatically go into a breakout room. And then we'll wrap up with the Q&A that I spoke about and some next steps. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome you all again and turn things over to Janet Collins, who is our brand new president for 2024, but she is not new to the organization. She's a longtime member, volunteer and contributor, was our vice president for the last 2 years. So we're in very capable hands for 2024. And take it away, Janet.
All right, thank you, Sherry. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So glad that you all chose to join us tonight and join Impact 100. It is an awesome group of women, and the opportunity to learn so much about what's going on in our community, I think, is second to none. You'll hear later how many applications we got. I won't take Reagan's thunder, but we are clearly becoming well known in the nonprofit community, and that just gives us all a chance to really know what some of the community needs are and what's happening in our community. So just a real quick, we want to talk about why people join, and I thought maybe I would share my why. I joined in 2017, so I've only been a member for 6-7 years. I say only because there are people who have been members for all 22 years that the organization has been alive. But I really wanted to understand what the needs were in the community, get more engaged in the community, and figure out where I wanted to kind of plug myself in. And what I found was I wanted to plug myself in a lot of places, and Impact 100 is one of those organizations where you get exposure to a lot of different things. And by putting my $1,000 into an organization like Impact 100, I can feel like I am making a difference in multiple places, not just one. So that, and I'm trying to live my mother's legacy, which I'll never, ever be able to compete with. So that's another reason for my why. And always to meet amazing women like all of you. I can't tell you the number of women that I have become really great friends with as a result of this organization. So we would love to hear your why, though. If you could, in the chat, just take a minute and say, why did you join? I mean, all of you are relatively new. Something triggered an interest in you. We would love to know why you decided to join. So just stick it in the chat. Everybody will see them kind of flying around here. Give back to my community. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, thanks, Mary. I'm trying. Any other thoughts about why you decided to join? Yeah, good, right? Seeing results and impact, that's something that we work really hard to make that partnership with the nonprofits. Learn more about the needs, pool resources for greater impact. Look at them all coming in now. This is awesome. Giving back and meeting empowering women. Yeah, that's great. So we will have a chance to talk a little bit more about that in the breakout sessions, but really helpful. I think everybody has a different reason, but we're just so glad that you're here. Let's talk just for a minute to remind everybody about what Impact 100 is, what our mission is. Portia, if you could go to the next slide. So you've probably seen this in other events or presentations, but this is really critical that we stay focused on what we're here for. So the women of Impact 100 dramatically improve lives in our greater Cincinnati community by collectively funding transformational grants that make a lasting impact. And we spend a lot of time making sure that what we're doing is transformational and lasting and within our community. And this is just really important that we stay really focused on what we're here for. So you're going to hear a little bit more about how we do that from Reagan in a minute. A couple years ago, in 2022, can't believe it's already been a couple years ago, we created this ennobling vision. We have always had a vision of being recognized as an amazing collective giving organization, but we decided to like shift it a bit and not make it about us and really about what our impact can be. And we decided that what we could do that could be really exciting is if we could be a significant catalyst for creating an equitable, thriving community for all, that could drive everything that we're doing in our grant making. And it's really caused us to really think about how we are going about what we're doing, and are we making sure that we are partnering with nonprofits, that we are changing the balance of power between those who give and those who get, and really thinking about how can we catalyze this effort and really make an impact. So it's really exciting to me to see it starting to come to fruition as we change some of our processes. So that's our vision. And then we have an organizational model that relies on these next couple bullets. You go to the next one. There you go. So the organization was built on the model of 100 women donating $1,000. I almost said a million. 100 women donating $1,000 to give at least one $100,000 grant. And over the years, we've realized that not everybody has the means or is in a position to give $1,000. And it's really important that we have lots of voices heard and lots of different people in the organization. So we've also offered a $500 level. So we have $500 or $1,000. And then the goal, though, is $100,000 grants is what the Impact 100 refers to. And then we have committee reviews, and we have, like I said, there's a whole bunch of applications that Reagan will tell you all about. We go through a vetting process, we go through site visits, and the whole membership selects finalists. And actually, they select, the grant review team select the finalists, and then the whole membership selects the grant awardees from the finalist presentations. So that's that middle graphic. And then we award the grants, and a key to our model is that 100% of the membership dues fees go toward the grants. So you can imagine there's a whole lot of other costs that we have to support, like technology and the website and insurance and all kinds of other things, where we rely on things like sponsors. And some of you may have paid 110% membership. That 10% goes toward operating. But we're able to still say 100% of the membership dues go directly into the grant pool, which is so exciting. Very few nonprofits are able to say that. So we have a couple comments in the chat that I wonder if there's anything that we need to address before we move on.
No, I think mostly they've been the comments to what you had already alluded to, what you had asked people to respond to. Just one personal one, Caroline said to Jean, looking for, you've joined my committee, looking forward to meeting you. So
awesome. All right, so with that, I'm going to move it along. Reagan Smith is our vice president and the grant review coordinator. So she is responsible for the entire grant review process, which is no small task. All the grant review teams report up to Reagan. And Reagan is, again, not new to the organization, new to this role, and is already hitting the ground running. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Reagan.
Thanks, Janet. As Janet said, I'm Reagan Smith. I am the grant review coordinator this year. This is my first year in this role on the board. Previously, I was a grant review team leader. So I've been really involved in the grant review process for the past 4 years. I joined as a member. I actually joined as a young philanthropist when I first started. I worked at a nonprofit that had received an Impact 100 grant, got to know about the organization, and was really excited to get to join. And that Young Philanthropist program really helped me get started. So I am thrilled to be here with all of you new members tonight and the Young Philanthropists who are here as well, just to welcome you and also get to talk to you a little bit about the grant review process. This is a place where you're going to be able to get involved in the process. You can hit the ground running with us. We are just getting started for the with the grant review cycle for this year. So Portia, can I get the slide for the, yes. So I'm going to talk to you all about how we award grants. So a few acronyms that we're going to throw around tonight, and hopefully you'll start to get to know are here. So some good terms to know Our GRT, that's a grant review team. So those are the small groups of Impact 100 members that get together to review the grants from the nonprofits who apply each year. LOI is a letter of intent. This is the very first step a nonprofit takes. This is the first application that they send in to start the grant process. It is a shortened version of a grant. They're just telling us a little bit about the overall project that they're submitting to us and how they would use our funds. We're getting a quick overview and snapshot of the organization in this letter of intent. And I'll talk a little bit more with what we do with that in a minute. I'll also talk a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion. You've probably heard DEI. We may also hear us talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging too. So those are some important terms to know as we get started. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is just kind of the overall grant cycle that happens throughout the year. We follow a similar cycle every single year. So it starts in the fall. So in the fall of 2023, we put out the LOI. So the letter of intent was made public to nonprofits in the community to start completing and filling out. As part of that process, we provide a training to the nonprofits about what we're looking for in the LOI, how they fill it out, talk about common questions. We even do a panel with previous grant recipients so they can hear from them. And then the next step is that the LOIs are due. This year, the LOIs were due today, January 4th. So today we received all of the final LOIs. We're really excited. I think we got a record number of letter of intent applicants. We expect that it will be we got around 130 letters of intent in today. Now that number will probably reduce a little bit as we vet all of those to make sure they fit the criteria. For example, that they serve the greater Cincinnati area. There's lots of Impact 100 chapters across the country, so sometimes some nonprofits get a little confused about where they are applying, but we are thrilled. We're really excited that the nonprofit community is recognizing us as a funder that can help them make transformational change in their work that they're doing in the community. So that started today, or we got all of those in today. And so really the next step is that the letters of intent will start to be reviewed by the grant review teams. We will start meeting. We're going to talk a little bit more about how you can join a grant review team. So the teams will be going over this together. They'll be looking at a selection of several LOIs to narrow those down to which nonprofits and projects they would like to ask back to complete a full grant. The full grant application is a little longer. We asked for a lot more detail in this. So we're really thinking about which projects are compelling and exciting that we think we can help partner with those nonprofits to help them make meaningful change together. And we're going to ask for more of those. So the grant review teams meet again, and I'll go over the dates of all of these in just a little bit to go through those grants. Those grants are reviewed. They also go through a financial review. They go through CIRC, which is community investment. I'm blanking on the R, review committee.
Review.
Yes, I got it. Okay. So review committee. So you'll hear CIRC. We probably should have put that on that acronym chart. And we start putting them, we have a group of committed Impact 100 volunteers, which could also be you that are part of CIRC, to help us review the financials, make sure that we feel like they could sustain the funding and can be good stewards of the money based on their history and what they've done. And then we start to do site visits. And those are where we get to go to a select few potential recipients, visit them at the site, see the great work that they're doing. And then those grant review teams meet again and narrow it down to select a recommended finalist. The board then will approve that final slate. And then in June, the finalists are announced. And then in September, we have the annual awards celebration, which is where we announce the grant recipients for the year. And then in the fall, it all repeats over again. So we go through this cycle every year. It is a long process, as you can tell. If we look at the whole process from beginning to end, it takes about 9 months. And then we start back on our end very quickly, working towards the next year. So we are excited that this process is kicking off for this year, and excited to be here. So a little bit more about that specific timeline. I told you I would give you dates on what this looks like. LOIs, that review in the grant review teams, that's starting off here pretty quickly. It starts actually in a little less than 2 weeks at this point. It starts the week of January 15th and will run for 4 weeks. And then the grant review we'll start in March. We got to have a window in there in between to get the information back to the nonprofits who are turning in a grant, so they have time to complete it. And then we move into site visits in April and May. And then we are able to do that. CERC happens kind of during that April and May time period. They meet 4 times. Yeah, I think there's a slide that has all of those dates, if somebody can forward it. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it's later in the process. I will get there with all of those important dates. I was working ahead of myself. So we'll go ahead and start talking about, so you're probably wondering, like, how do we review these in our teams? What are the questions we're looking at? What are we looking for? So, like I mentioned before, we start with that letter of intent, and it goes over all of these things. We get a little snapshot, like a big picture snapshot of this. And then we also complete, then if the nonprofit's asked back to complete a grant, we ask similar questions in these categories again, but with more detail. So things that we're thinking about are the overall project. Is there a need? What is so compelling about the need? Are they telling us about a proposed solution that's clear and appropriate to address the need that they've identified and that they want to solve for? We're really looking at the organization as a whole here. Is the applicant and any of partners, any other community partners or organizations they're working with, the appropriate entity to do the work? So are they uniquely positioned to help solve for this need that they've identified? Are we confident in their ability to deliver and evaluate the results? Have they been what did they tell us that tells us, like, yes, they are the right person to, or the right organization with the right resources to help meet the need that they've identified? We're looking at transformational impact. So transformation and impact are 2 words that you will hear a lot in impact. Will the project have a transformational impact? How do we, how is it going to create change? And we can look at that in a lot of ways. You'll start hearing us talk about things like breadth and depth. So is the impact have a lot of breadth, meaning does it help a lot of people or a high number of people, or is it more about depth? Maybe it serves less people, but we're going to be able to make really deep, impactful change for a smaller number of people. To what need is there? So another big important part of this process is we are starting to look at diversity, equity, inclusion, and how that plays a role in philanthropy, and how do we use an equity lens in evaluating these things. Hopefully throughout your impact journey, you're going to learn a lot about diversity, equity, and inclusion and what we're doing. And I think we're trying really hard to practice what we preach as an organization. Excuse me. We ourselves as an organization are looking at our own diversity and equity and inclusion processes and practices and how we're doing it for us as an organization. And then we're also asking those who are applying to tell us a little bit about what they're doing. A big part of this is about proximity. To what extent is the organization proximate to the issue and the people that are impacted? So let's think about like a great example might be Northern Kentucky. Maybe there's some people who have said, hey, we've identified this need for people in Northern Kentucky. I'll take an example of one of our previous, our great recipient from this year, Samaritan Car Care Clinic. They are located in Covington, and they are helping repair cars for single moms in Northern Kentucky. They've identified that single moms need cars, reliable cars, to be able to maintain transportation. That's great. Samaritan Car Care Clinic is uniquely proximate to this issue. They're located in Covington. They're right near the organizations that they partner with to help bring these single moms in. They're accessible to where single moms they're serving are located. What if they had told us that they wanted to serve single moms in the Covington Newport area, but they were located on the west side of Cincinnati? We might scratch our heads a little bit and say, how are they going to be able to know the issue and the people that they're serving without being geographically located near them? How are people going to receive that service? And then are they taking steps to advance DEI in their organization and the community? Are they thinking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and how they're practicing that, how they're trying to serve diverse populations and the needs of diverse populations in their organization? Or how does their project address that? So these are just some basic questions that we're starting to look at and we're really understanding. We're also really looking and moving towards understanding the power differentials that occur between us as funders and the people that we serve. We're really wanting to work on equalizing that playing field as much as possible. And so you're going to hear us talking a lot about how can we trust the organization to be the best steward of their funds and spend the money where they feel like it's best used to meet the need that they've identified. So these are important conversations. We're going to talk about it more at our GRT kickoff, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. And then last, of course, the financial health. Is the organization financially healthy? Can they be good stewards of the funds? What information do they have that helps support that? What are they giving us? What information are they giving us? Again, that gets more detailed. And the LOI, we're asking just some really basic questions about, how they think they're going to use the funds. And then if we ask them back for a grant, we're going to get way more into that, their financial history, asking them some questions and filling out some information for us. And then CIRC, that community investment review committee, is going to help take a deeper dive there too. So we have a process, we have questions we're thinking about as we're looking at these, and our grant review teams and small groups are looking at these questions together and having really important conversations where we welcome everybody and their voice and their opinion to talk about these in an objective way and try to have a meaningful conversation about how we can help support nonprofits and then also move them forward through this process, which unfortunately means sometimes eliminating some really wonderful nonprofits. But we really recognize that they are all very worthy of the funds. And so it can be a hard process, but we are excited to be evaluating them and hopefully move some of them closer to being grant recipients. And then next, here's those dates I was promising you. The first phase is that letter of intent review. It starts on Monday, January 15th and runs through the 9th of February. That grant review piece running March through May with the site visits and then the information about CIRC. You're going to hear in a minute from Janet Sullivan, who's going to talk to us all about signing up to volunteer. Volunteering includes signing up for grant review teams and CIRC as well. And then here's an overview of our meeting schedule of days and times when we are meeting. We have 5 fabulous grant review team leaders. Caroline and Laura and Portia are all here tonight. So if you already signed up for a team, you may have signed up for theirs and you can see a familiar face. If you haven't signed up yet, we would really encourage you to consider that. If you're available on Tuesdays at 11, that Pearl team with Margaret. Margaret's our newest GRT lead and she's going to be fabulous. Would be a great place to jump in if you have time during the day. But again, Janet's going to show us how you can sign up. She's going to walk us through step by step how you navigate the website to get there. And then last, but I think not least, we have our GRT kickoff event. This is next Thursday, January 11th. This is an in-person event. Something I forgot to mention earlier about grant review teams is that they're all held virtually. So we're meeting by Zoom for all of these grant review teams. This was something that we learned worked really well during the pandemic. It allowed us a space essentially for free to meet. Previously, we're having to find community locations to have these really important but also confidential conversations. And we found that meeting by Zoom allowed people to join, and it reduced barriers to joining. Some people don't live in Cincinnati year round. Sometimes they're in Florida in the winter. They could join that grant review team right away. It helped people not have to drive as late at night in the winter to get there. If you are feeling ill or under the weather, you maybe could still join without having to worry about illness. So all of those are online, but we're trying to find meaningful ways to connect with people throughout the process in person. One of those is this grant review team kickoff event next Thursday, the 11th from 5:30 to 8 at Great Oaks. There will be a link sent for you to be able to sign up. You've probably already gotten it. We'd love for you to join us. this is a night that if you've signed up for a GRT, you're going to get to meet other members of your team. We're going to do some training about the grant review process, talk a little bit more in depth about some of the things I talked about tonight. And also then be able to get into some small groups. And we're also going to talk a little bit about having meaningful conversations in these groups and how we can do that in a really impactful way as well. So we would be thrilled to have you there. It's also a great way to meet people, especially all of you who are new, get to know some faces and connect with those smaller teams if you're going to be a part of one. If you're unsure about joining a team, it would be a great next step to exploring a little bit more. You are welcome. You don't have to have signed up for a team to come and learn more. So we would love to have you as part of that process. And I think we're going to send that registration link. Really quick before I hand it over to Janet, do we have any questions? Is there anything that came up?
Yes, there is a question. What if we can't attend the GRT training? In other words, can they still participate? Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. So we'd love to have you there. If you can't make it, we will be recording it. And so we'll be sending it out. We will be asking everyone who is a part of a GRT to watch it. We'd love to have you in person to engage you, but we also understand there's conflicts and other things. So there will be a way to get that information.
Mm-hmm. And the only other thing was there was a question about how many LOIs in previous years, how many letters of intent, and this was a record high year, and there were 102 last year, just for comparison.
Yeah, I think we're building back up too from COVID. During COVID years, there were other sources of funding, a lot of unknowns and variables for nonprofits. So I think we saw a little bit of a decrease during that time. So I think we're back to full force need for funding. And so we're excited that they are applying. All right, well, I'm going to hand it off to Janet Sullivan. Janet is our volunteer coordinator and also a vice president of membership and recruiting. So she is going to share with you all about how you can get more involved with Impact 100 and hopefully a grant review team. Thanks,
Great,
Janet.
thank you. Thanks, Reagan. And Portia, just hold it on this slide for a minute. Actually, thank you. Perfect. Just a couple of things I want to say. Sandy's been monitoring our chat, and thank you, Sandy, for doing that. And each of you that have taken the time to put a question into chat, keep doing that. You know, it's a way we can all interact as well as being on the screen. And I don't know if, like me, I keep scrolling up and down the names and faces of who's on because I want to see you and I want to take the most advantage of this virtual format. And so if you haven't done that while you're listening, scroll and see the faces of the other members of Impact 100. And it's a kind of a fun way to put names and faces together. And those of you that aren't on camera now, if you're willing to be, start your video at points that you're willing to be. We'd love to see you as well. So as Reagan said, I am going to talk to you a little bit about volunteering and how to get involved in Impact 100. Many of you are newer members in the last year or two. We're going to have a couple of our members share how they've gotten involved in a couple of minutes. But first, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you might do that. And so actually get your fingers ready because I'm going to have you put some answers in the chat, to the following question. And Portia, if you'll go to the next slide right now. And there's 3 pictures here. And my question for you is, what do these photos have in common? Food. Thank you, Mary. Food. Bartley, thank you. Anybody else? Food. We're all getting hungry. What about the food? Anyone see anything else? Is there a lot of it? Are there choices?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here's somebody saying, There's choices, there's a menu, there's a buffet, there's ways to choose, food and hopefully fellowship to follow. Thank you, Jean. We will have some fellowship tonight too. So the reason I put these up is getting involved in Impact 100 is sort of like looking at a menu and choosing what you would like, or going through a buffet line and saying, I want a little bit of that. Or maybe I'll go back next year and try a little bit of something else. And that's exactly what we want you to do in Impact 100 is to sample some different things and see what you like and what you enjoy about the organization and where you really connect. And tonight we're going to introduce you to a few of those. both the grant review teams, which Reagan has spoken about, and some other opportunities. Portia, if you don't mind advancing the slide. So there are some key volunteer opportunities. The grant review teams, there are 5, which Reagan has already shared, and I'll show you how to sign up for those in a moment. And we also have 5 other teams that support some of our board members or key project work. One is in the area of fostering and developing our sponsors, the people that help serve our operational funding for the organization. One is around equity and inclusion, trying to be a member that helps us advance how we think about that in terms of our grant giving. Member engagement, how we connect with folks like you and other new members and sustaining members and our original members. We also have a team that supports our signature events, which are our 4 key events each year, and a new team that we're forming supporting technology. So if you want to be somebody that drives the Zoom meeting like Portia's doing for us tonight, or you want to help train other members in technology that's helping us or learn about some of the new technologies that we're using, or help with our website, that's a team you might be interested in. You can also sign up to help at events, being a greeter, setting up, cleaning up, helping us with decorations, or you can tell us what skills you have, and we'll try to get you plugged in. The 5th thing I wrote down we'll be announcing in a couple months, and that is that with our 4 grant awardees from 2023, we'll be setting up a volunteer activity with each of those organizations sometime in the March to August timeframe. And many of you participated in those last year, and it was really an opportunity to see even more about the great nonprofit community and serve alongside other impact members. And you might find that interesting too, as a bit of a one and done volunteer approach. With that, let's go to the next slide. And this actually features, I'm not sure how much you can see. You'll see Reagan at the bottom of that wheel there. But it shows a few of our different Impact 100 members, and we could put any of your faces or any of our over 400 members on there and show how different people get involved, because it's not cookie cutter. Everybody's different. You choose where and how, when you want to get involved. And so you have people like Rachel at the top that leads our CIRC, Community Investment Review Committee. And she's more in the financial end. If you go around the wheel, Katie is more in our technology end. Marilyn Kenny is a longtime member that has been our nominating chair, a grant review team leader, and helps with our governance of the group. Down around the bottom, Reagan already introduced herself and shared, that she started as a young philanthropist and now as a grant review team, was a grant review team leader, and now a vice president on our board. Come up around the wheel to Tiara, who was a YP and has been an event volunteer and helped us at several of our signature events this last year and led an icebreaker at one of our events also. And then up to about 2 o'clock, you'll see Claire O'Brien, who even beyond our Impact 100 network has gotten involved in a national network called Philanos that has several other giving circles and brings those ideas back to us. She spoke at our Giving Tuesday event, those of you who were able to be there. So I share that. Those are 6 stories. You'll hear a couple live ones in a minute to say, when you look at the buffet of Impact 100 and anything you can do, there are no wrong answers. You choose, you try things one year. If you like it, do it again next year. If it wasn't your preference, try something else the next year, or ask the people you sit with at events what they did and what did they like about it. And just do what works for you. We mentioned we're going to take a tour, and we are going to try that. I don't know how many of you may have already signed up for a grant review team or other volunteer opportunities, but we're going to show you how to do that. And we're going to do that. I think Portia is going to go live, and we will show you from the Impact 100 website. So let's pause right here. Hopefully you all have been to our Impact 100 website. It's like impact100.org. And this is what you see when you log into that. Portia's got the little pointer right on the part that says member login right now. If you hit that button, it's going to take you to what we call our Member Leap area. And Member Leap is our new portal that is where you sign up for an event, you sign up to volunteer, you pay your membership here. And this is new this year. So this is partially why we're taking the time to show it to you, because if you happen to sign up for things before last year, it's a little different this year. Portia entered her name and password already, and that brought her to this screen. And it says the member menu. And you can see across the top, it says member, events, communication, and engagement. When you're ready to volunteer or look what's available, you want to go to that fourth tab, engagement, and just hit the button, the drop down, and it's going to say volunteer. That's your key one to press. Portia's pressing it now. She's a really good listener and driver. And she's scrolling down here now to show you the first 5 things listed are the 5 grant review teams. So Reagan shared with you that there were meetings on Monday during the day, Monday night, Tuesday morning, Thursday evening, and Thursday morning. And we're going to go in, let's say one of you listened to Reagan tonight or has talked to somebody else and said, wow, I really would like to join one of those grant review teams. I know they're starting in 2 weeks. In fact, as I look at my schedule, I think I could do the Tuesdays at 11 a.m. So we click on the Pearl Grant Review Team. There, it's giving a further description. It's describing pretty much what Reagan told you about what the work is. And then it's giving you the actual meeting dates. And I see someone asked in the chat too, what if I can't make all 4 of the first phase? That's okay. You can still sign up, make the 3 that you can. You can do the pre-work for the 4th one and send it in, or have a buddy, cover your voting or your input for that meeting. So, you come as, we'd like you to come as much as you can, but we recognize you may have some conflict. So you look at the description and you say, boy, this is exactly what I want to do. And so you come down to the bottom and says, click here to sign up for this volunteer. And then the blue font at the bottom there we go. And all Portia has to do is sign me up. And that person is now registered. And in fact, go back to the main menu there, Portia. If you then went down to volunteer, right next to my events, if Portia clicked that list, it would now show she is signed up for the Pearl Grant Review Team. That's the one. So that will show the things you volunteered for. Okay. Let's show you a couple other things. So that's the most time sensitive thing, because the grant review teams, the kickoff is the 11th. There's still time. You can jump in, and I will tell you, the first year I joined a grant review team, and I loved it because you really got to the heart of what Impact 100 is. You got to meet about, your team might have 10, 15, maybe 20 people on it. You got to see those names and faces. When you went to an event later, you knew those people, and you really got into understanding the profits in the area. That's one way to get involved. Let's look at a couple others. If Portia's back at the engagement, she's hitting volunteer again. We're going to scroll down a little further. After the grant review teams, there was the CERC. If you have financial skills or interests, you can sign up for that with Rachel. And then after that, there's 5 teams. The development sponsorship team, the equity and inclusion, membership engagement, signature events, and technology. Same as we've done with the grant review, if you click on the blue font, it's going to explain a little more. And I'm going to have Portia click on the technology team. And it'll just give like a 1 or 2 sentence description what that work is. And if you say, boy, that fits me, I think I could help here, I'd like to do it, Portia's ready. She's going to click here to sign up for that volunteer opportunity. Sign me. We're going to have Portia sign up for all kinds. what we and we're going to take her back now to show you one more thing as you scroll down that list. The skills area. This is a little bit different. And by the way, if you sign up to help in an event or skills, it's going to come to me. So write whatever you want in there and I'll answer your questions. But actually, let me hit Mary's question in the chat and then I'll come back to talk skills. Mary asked if one team or more needs more volunteers at this point. Mary, I'm not sure if you're referring to the grant review teams or other, but specific to the grant review teams, I can tell you that right now there's 2 teams that are pretty heavy in membership. And I know it's Stacy's and Portia's. And so I would encourage you to look at the other 3 ahead of those if those days and times fit your schedule. If you're looking at other than GRTs, thank you. We've just opened these registrations. So right now they're all open. They're all open and taking people. So we probably have a handful or less on each right now. So they're all open and we'd love to plug you in. If you didn't see a team that fits your description, but you say, gosh, I've really got this skill that I wonder if I can use at Impact, take a look at this list. You might have ideas that aren't even on this, but you could say, gosh, I'm great at graphic design, or I'm great at photography, or I know a lot about financial things, bookkeeping, disbursements. I think I could help. And all you want to do is, again, go down to that, click here to sign up for this, volunteer. And in the additional comments, say, I have skills in, and fill in the blank, even if it's not something we have there. And put sign me up. I'll get a message when you do that on this area, and I'll be happy to help guide you further. Okay. I think that's probably enough. I think we tell you just go sign up. We wanted to show you and hope that maybe that helps you a little bit further. At this point, I'd like to have, let's jump to the testimonials, I think. So I think we're going to go past one more slide. Let's go past one. And let's have Judy Simpson, who joined last year in 2023. And I think you'll need to come off mute, Judy. And she's going to share a little bit about how she got plugged in.
Well, so how I got plugged into Impact 100s, I moved to Cincinnati from Lexington, Kentucky about summer of 2021. And I just wanted to get involved in this new city. And I really wanted to get involved with the community and give back. I was pretty involved when I was in Lexington. So it was something that I knew I wanted to do. A friend of mine that I was on the board with who lives in Northern Kentucky was like kind of the original connection, and then one connection led to another connection, and then they all told me about Impact 100, and it sounded like something that I wanted to do. So last year was my first year of in the YP. So I'm in the YP and I'm going into my second year. And in my first year, I did do the grant review team. I was actually in Reagan's group. And it honestly was a bit overwhelming at first, but it also was a great way to show like what exactly Impact 100 does and the processes. And everybody is so welcoming, and it was it's a lot of information, but getting through it, you have like a team of, amazing people who help walk you through it and kind of sit in the same boat. And then a lot of people have been doing it for multiple years, so has definitely kind of helped you all out along the way. And then with that process too, I also did one site visit, and visiting the site's also like a really great way to kind of like and see it in action. So highly recommend that. But on the other side too is kind of what Janet was talking about. If that's not something that you can commit a whole lot of time to, I did volunteer as a one-off at a Members Connect event with the setup. And for me, it was just very comforting walking in, and when I didn't know a whole lot of people, to still go to the event, but then also meet more people. So also would recommend that. So, and honestly, like at this point, with it being my second year, I kind of still feel like I'm really just scratching the surface, even though, I feel like I did a lot in my first year, but it definitely hit in that first year, all the points of the reason why I wanted to join, getting to know the new city, getting involved. And, Janet can tell you way more ways of how to get involved because I'm also here trying to refresh myself as well.
Judy, that's great. Thank you very much. And we're going to have another member share. And before they do, I also want to tell you that one of you reminded me in the chat. We love when you get involved. We love when you get plugged in. But if you're busy and you're saying, gosh, I really just wanted to give my membership fee and maybe plug in another year, that's okay too. It really is. We want you to be engaged. We want you to join with us year after year. But if you want to learn and take things in the first year and, come to the annual awards ceremony and try something else, that's fine too. Okay. We value all types of members in whatever ways they want to contribute. Sandy Weiskettle, another of our members, who's been monitoring the chat tonight, has been a member since 2014, and she's going to share how she's gotten plugged in.
Hi, everybody. I've been a member for about 10 years, and I would have to say I started out kind of slowly and just came to the different events and enjoyed them. And then gradually I wanted to get more involved. And I mentioned that I was a freelance writer, and some people on various committees asked me to help out with that. And things just sort of snowballed. And I have found that the more I do and the more people I meet, the more I enjoy the organization and the more I learn, because it's amazing the nonprofits that are applying to us and the things that they're doing. So some of I've volunteered on events. I've been part of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. I've done the grant review teams. So it's really been an extraordinary experience. And I feel like I'm a better person for all the wonderful women that I've met and all of the site visits I've done. And yes, I would just say I kind of started out slow because that's how my life was going at that point. I was working more, and now I have more time. So I am now on the board and the co-chair with Sherry for membership. So I encourage you all to get involved however you can. And I look forward to helping you out. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me or anybody on the board. And so I will turn it back to Sherry.
Thanks, Sandy. I appreciate your journey and that of Judy's as well. Every story is different from all of our members and how they get involved. And as Janet Sullivan mentioned, whatever works for you is also going to work for the organization. We're just glad to have you here. Yes. So how to connect. You've already heard, I think, the V word a lot tonight, so volunteer. Stay up to date on the events with our emails. From time to time, we'll send you texts. Our newsletters are coming out. You'll get those via email, and that has a ton of information in it. Try to scan those newsletters and get the information there. And then you also can look at us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You should be really checking us on all of those social media as well to keep track of what's happening. When you register, mark your calendar for events, know that almost all of our events are open to guests as well. It might be how you got connected to Impact 100. You just came to one of our events. That happens a lot. And so that's always a way to, bring a buddy and they get to know us as well. Share your Impact 100 story with your family and friends if you get a chance. Let them know, hey, I'm part of this new organization, and talk about what we do. It may again be how you became connected with and heard about Impact 100. I shared in my breakout room. I heard about Impact 100 just casually talking to someone at my gym, and they mentioned they were going to a grant review team meeting and what that was. And I was curious and went home and looked at the website, said, hey, this sounds like an interesting organization, and got involved. And consider hosting what we call a spread the word. This is for farther down the line. Later on in the year, we start to have some small group events, generally at people's homes or in their communities, where we talk about what Impact 100 does. We have a nonprofit come, and one of our nonprofit partners will talk about the work that they've done and the need in the community, and really give an in-depth look at the impact that's happening and the transformational change that is happening because of Impact 100. So that's a real interesting thing to do as well. So follow up, you will be getting an email with the recording of this meeting probably next week. We are also going to include a glossary of terms. This is, we touched on a few of those tonight, few acronyms, GRT, CERC, some of those things, but we're going to give you the full-on glossary of terms that will probably help when we get into discussions later in the year. We'll give you a list of important dates so that you can start marking your calendar for all those events. And then we're going to give you a board org chart as well, so that you can remember who's in what position and know who to contact if you need to. So I wanted to open up for any questions that have come up that we haven't answered, anything in the chat, anything from the break rooms, and then we'll close out the meeting. Anything we haven't answered for anyone? All right, you're all experts on Impact 100. You can go out and spread the word. Again, we really appreciate you joining, and we will be passing on a lot of information to you next week. Hope to see you at some of our events or possibly our GRT training. Look forward to seeing you again, and thanks again for being part of Impact 100 Cincinnati. We look forward to working with you this year and really making a transformational change in our community. You will be amazed by the time we get to next September, all the work that's been done by this group of people. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Night.
Good night.
Impact.
Happy
Good night.
New Year.
Happy New
Good night.
Year.
Good night. It was a great meeting.
Thanks, Sue.
Want me to take him? I'm done.
Linda, at the bottom of your screen, there should be a little red button that says leave. You see that?
Should. Nope.
Yep. No?
Nope.
I can do it as host. Would you like me to?
Yeah.
All right. Have a great night.
Bye, Linda.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, that was cute.
I thought we might have to get that dog and send it up to get her husband.
Buster, Buster.
Right.
Oh my God, that was hilarious. All right. So how do you
I'm
want
gonna
our feedback?
Stop recording.
Sherry's
If
gone.
I can figure out how. All right. Good night, everyone on the recording.